We are live.
Sweet.
Cool. Welcome to Office Hours, everybody.
What's up, everyone? Office hours, you know what it is. It's the.
We are live.
Oh, God. My phone is broadcasting me the stream. I apologize. Office hours, episode 13. Fourth quarter's here. I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. I feel like I've been 29 for 30 years now, given how long things have been going on, stretched out. So I'm surprised it's almost the end of the year. I can't believe it.
Wait, so do you have a fourth quarter birthday?
December 10th, yeah. Unfortunately.
Hey, why do you say unfortunately?
Well, because by now I thought we'd be back to normal. I thought I'd be able. I was laughing at everybody at the beginning of all this. That sucks for you guys. You can't go out on your birthdays and whatnot. By December, everything will be cleared out. I'll be out, fly out to California, about to be in warm weather and whatnot. No, still inside. So.
Yeah, I definitely think this was. I definitely did not think this was gonna last this long. But here we are because people are selfish.
Oh God, right. Exactly.
Anyways, welcome to Office Hours, everybody. I'm a little bit hyped because we celebrated Culture Fix's 6-year anniversary today.
I was on the phone all day. I didn't get to come through. How was it?
That's okay. Honestly, it felt so. For folks who don't know, Culture Fix is a global network of artists and entrepreneurs and creative people, activists that Natalie Crew and I kind of bring together, and we help them use their platforms for social change and connect artists across borders to each other. We started on Twitter, same way Stowe and I met. We started on Twitter and have spent 6 years of like programming and collaborating and facilitating connections. And it was really, honestly, I was more hyped about this than I was on my own birthday. To see like
on your own birthday.
Yeah, definitely more hyped than I was on my own birthday. To feel like how I think sometimes a lot of the work, and so I'm sure you feel the same way, like we do the work because we love it and because we care. And sometimes you don't see like the outcome right away, or you don't see the results right away, or you don't get the appreciation right away. And so to be surrounded by folks who like really love and valued us and believed in what we were doing felt really nice. It felt really, really nice. So shout out to Culture Fix, shout out to Natalie Crew, who's like really built this thing with me. We're 6 years old, and I can't wait till Office Hours turns 6.
Oh, sorry. God, I'll be in my mid-30s by then. What am I?
I'm sorry. Is there something wrong with being in your mid-30s?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not. No. Never that. Oh no.
Thanks, Brenda. Brenda says congratulations. Thanks, Brenda. And for folks who are here, please feel free to introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are and what you do. Office Hours is interactive, and we're really here to answer your questions. So and I have things that we talk about, but really we want to be responsive to what's up for you. So feel free to drop a comment now if you're live, or if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to drop a comment in the comments. We'll always come back and answer them. And while you're at it, please subscribe, because we want to make sure you see what we're doing and get the information. So anyways, today we're talking about fourth quarter. And this is definitely something Stowe and I don't always see eye to eye on. So I think you'll get a couple perspectives on it. And Stowe, maybe you can help by kind of grounding it for folks. Like when we say fourth quarter, what does that even mean?
All right, hold on 1 second. Just want to make sure I got that tweet out because I messed up a billion times. Oh my God. Okay, fourth quarter. For me, fourth quarter is just October to December, the last 3 months of the year. What's up, DJ Soko? I really appreciate you coming out.
Hey.
Yeah, it's just October to December. That's what I consider to be fourth quarter.
And the reason that matters, right? Like what fourth quarter comes from is basically like how traditional kind of companies track their finances and track their project cycle. So like first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. And so fourth quarter is when they like close out their books. It's when they finalize all their reports. And so that's kind of where it comes from, that for folks who maybe have corporate jobs or like are working in traditional spaces, fourth quarter might actually mean more or be more relevant if you're going after like brand money or corporate sponsorships or things like that, versus if you're living in a more independent kind of decolonized space, fourth quarter might not mean anything because that's a construct of time that you're not aligned with. And so I just want to put that out there, that this might not, the language might not, or the timing might not apply to everybody, but some of the things that we're going to talk about I think are good practice in general. Shout out to Imp for joining us. Thank you for being here live. It's so exciting. And y'all feel free, as I said, to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know if you have any questions as we're talking. So why it, like, what does fourth quarter mean for artists in particular, and what should they be thinking about?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, fourth quarter is for me a time to kind of rebuild, kind of a time to update things, reflect, kind of slow down, get some damn rest for once. But I also understand that it can be a time, or, well, okay, here we go. This is also a time where I feel like a lot of cats who planned on releasing earlier in the year now are like, oh, snap, it's scramble time. The year's about to be up. I've been talking about this album for XYZ, but I also been pushing it back. And now if I don't drop it at the end of the year, like, I kind of messed up. So I feel like a lot of artists are in that category as well. But, you know, obviously we're going to get into it, but there's things that you can be doing to have a productive fourth quarter to make sure that you're still doing what needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to remember is that end of the year is often a time where people are closing things out. And so I think one of the things to think about is this is not the time to do last minute, like, let's just do a pop-up, right? You want to really think about what's your plan and be prepared, because people are distracted, because there's so much going on. Generally in like if you believe in this time cycle, people are like end of the year reflections and getting ready for like New Year's resolutions. And so keeping in mind that it's a time where there's a lot of other asks on people's time, money, energy, and emotions.
Right.
And so if you're going to be making an ask on people's time, money, energy, and emotions, you want to do some of the groundwork beforehand to prepare them for that. I do want to say this is also a time where the more you know your audience, Stone and I talk about this every Office Hours episode, is to really understand your niche. The more you know your audience, the more you'll know what they need from you at the end of the year. So, you know, there's the US kind of calendar is not the only calendar in the world. So for some people, it might not be the end of the year. And so maybe they have more capacity than others. If people are celebrating Christmas versus they might have celebrated Ramadan earlier in the year. So their holiday pressures might be different. So really just thinking about who is your audience and what does this time of year look like for them, so that you can then position yourself in a way that's supportive, that's meeting their needs, rather than being another demand on what your audience is doing. And so really thinking about, we say this every time, and if you haven't watched the episode on niches, please definitely go back and watch that episode, is knowing your audience, and not just knowing their demographics, but knowing this kind of information about what's really going on for them right now, so that you can be a solution, you can be a problem solver for them. So sorry, go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
The only thing I was gonna say is, like, I'm starting to think we actually might be on the same page about fourth quarter, because my whole thing is making sure that, like, in regards to, if you know your target audience and you know what they're about during, whether it's the end of the year for them or maybe it's earlier in the year for them right now, is keeping your expectations in check. Like, that's always my biggest thing. Like, it's, if you want to release something, or, you know, release your life's work, or release your album, or release XYZ, that's totally fine. but you have to keep your expectations in check in regards to not just when you're doing it, but what your audience is doing at the same time.
What are some of the things that people should be doing right now?
Now listen, guys. Your man hasn't even stepped out of America, so my calendar is starting to wind down. I can already feel my body just being like, all right, man, we're shutting down. Like, we're coming to the end of the year. Birthday's coming up. Time to start like relaxing, start reflecting, start coming up with goals, start planning and stuff like that. But what I always tell artists to do is just not. I do feel like now's the time to slow down if you're used to that, of course. And I feel like, especially given the times and whatnot, a lot of us have just been fucking just running and sprinting and just panic mode. Like, yo, I don't know where the money's coming from, what we're doing, what's this, what's that. So I feel like a lot of us are approaching that burnout sooner than we usually do. And we'll talk about that obviously in another episode. But for me, my whole thing is you can use this time to update everything that you have going on around you, all your big pillars. So like your website, big time to update your website. Because the thing is this, yeah, we've been in a pandemic, but a lot of you guys have been working this whole time, this whole year, doing things, creating content. Some of you have been doing virtual shows. Some of you have still been releasing work and stuff like that. Now's the time, but I know for a fact some of y'all been neglecting your website. So go back and update it with everything that you've accomplished this year and in previous years, if that's the case. But at the same time, a lot of you guys are creating albums or sitting on big time albums and stuff like that, but you don't have a marketing plan yet. You don't know what you're really going to do to get this record out and stuff like that. Now's the time to hit the brakes real quick and start planning that stuff out for next year, because I'm not even going to go on a rant about this because I feel like we've already talked about this. When you have a plan, it's easier to execute and go about things when things inevitably go wrong, when mistakes are made, or maybe you don't get the post that you're looking for or whatever. When you have a plan, it's easier to be like, okay, that sucks, but I have 50 other steps that I've already planned out, so let's go get it, versus completely derailing things. So coming up with the plan is part of that as well.
And I think sometimes what happens is we plan, but we overestimate ourselves. And so end of the year, end of a project cycle, and I think you should really do this kind of at different points throughout the year. It's really important to stop and evaluate what you've already done. So to go back and look at, first of all, what is everything that you've done? Because sometimes, we're so busy that we overlook the little things, right? We forget that, like, oh yeah, I spoke here, or I did this, or I connected with so-and-so. So one, to really stop and look at what's all the things you've done.
But wait a minute, hold on. Did you said we shouldn't just do this at the end of the year though?
No, this should be a regular.
Why is that? Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, because the more checkpoints you create, right, the more you can take in new information and adjust based on that new information. And so if you do 4 projects and then stop and go back and look at that, not to say that's not valuable, but you could have tweaked things at project 2 and then tweak things at project 3. But now you've it's like if you're building something and you see a crack in the foundation, the more you build on it, the harder it's going to be to go back and fix that crack in the foundation. But if as soon as you see that crack, or you stop and check for cracks every now and then you're going to make sure that you catch things and then make it better or learn from it or whatnot. And so, I think often we talk a lot about goal setting and planning, and the reevaluation, the checking in, the pausing to look at how things are going needs to be just as integral to the process as what your action plan is going to be. And so this is a really good time to stop and look at what's everything you did, what worked, what didn't, what felt good, what didn't. Look at your analytics, but also look at some of the anecdotal stuff. Only 3 people showed up, but those 3 people all bought my merch packet, for example, or whatever whatever it is for you. And so it's a time to really check in about not just, the quantitative stuff is important, but also qualitatively with yourself. how did you feel about how things went? And how would you like to feel that's different? I think the other thing that's really, really important this time of year is to make sure you're connecting with the people that you want to connect with. Like, stop and nurture, like, check in on folks, nurture your relationships. Hey, happy birthday, happy holiday, happy new year, happy fuck it, we survived 2020. Like, it, you know, I would send me a card like that.
Right.
You know, like, to make sure that you're being intentional without asking for anything, without being transactional, just checking in on the people that you appreciate, who have supported you, who you've collaborated with. You know, think about who you worked with in January, and it might be a whole year now that you haven't talked to them. So make sure you're creating those touch points. This is a really good time to do that, to kind of stop and take stock and look at like what the big picture is. Because that kind of evaluation is just as much part of the preparation and planning for what you'll do moving forwards, right? Sometimes you have to go a little bit backwards to get a running start.
Right.
And so that's also really important, is to make sure you're creating touch points in your relationships. I want to welcome everyone who's joining us for Office Hours with Nora and Stowe. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. Subscribe so that you can, you know, so that you catch all of our new episodes. And then on a side note, for those of you who are here, Stowe and I are teaching a webinar on newsletters next month, October 15th and 17th. You can pick one date or the other. The link to that is in the caption below you. And so this is also a good time to start setting up for things that you want to do, right? I want to start a newsletter. Let's start getting the infrastructure in place. I need help. So thinking about what it's going to look like for you to hire someone or to bring on an intern or grow your team. You know, I need to get a website. So what are all the pieces you need? It's really a good time to start to think about what are the gaps in your infrastructure and thinking about how to build those out as well.
Right. Absolutely. And then, you know, like Nora was saying, in nurturing relationships, like we have 3 months is a long time, people. And it's a long time to really, like Nora said, nurture things and check in on people. But also, you know, as more people are starting to wind down, they're also going to start kind of sharing, I guess, more of what they've gone through this year. And not just in terms of obviously just the pandemic and stuff like that, but like whether it's articles or what they've worked on, that's a good time to show support for people. And like people remember that, like, and again, heading into 2021, like it is a good way to start building that relationship with others and creating that network and whatnot. So
the other thing that I think is super, super, super important to do at the end of the year, and again, this is something you should be doing regularly, is to rest. Like, take a break, take some time off, you know, don't think about music, don't think about work, and really take some time to self-care and check in with yourself, which I think sometimes, especially in music, where we have this culture of like hustle, 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 work hard, I can sleep when I'm dead. Like,
right.
It feels counterintuitive to do that, step back. But we don't want y'all to burn out. And especially after the kind of year that it's been, rest and like relaxation and like mental health care and all those things are just as important, are just as integral to your success as having a website or getting a newsletter or, you know, finding a publicist or whatever it might be. Rest doesn't need to be an afterthought. Oh, I'll wait till like my vacation days. Rest needs to be just as much interwoven into your action plan as everything else. And so really sit there, and as you plan, same way you plan out your social media calendar or the same way you plan out your newsletters, plan out a couple rest days for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, guys, you're talking to someone who is a professional at burning out, to the point where like I think maybe over the last 5 years, I finally realized, oh, wait, maybe I should stop working myself into the ground, and maybe I'd stop having certain health issues and stuff like that. So like I'm telling you guys, like it sounds crazy. It's very easy to be like, yeah, I'm just going to work through this and stuff. But like that stress and that pressure, it has an effect on your body. You may not feel it now. You may not feel it a day from now or whatever, but that stuff does catch up to you. And you can't be your best self if you're not also healthy. Like it's just, I'm telling you, I was so immature about stuff like this because like, oh yeah, I'm running and I'm, I eat some vegetables sometimes, but I'm also working myself to death until like 10 p.m. or whatever. That's not healthy. You have to get your rest. You have to take care of yourself. So take that time to rest and relax. I promise your body will appreciate it, and you'll notice that difference. Like I'm telling you, even when I just slow down just a little bit, like I'm more sharp. I'm just even the most basic things. Like I'm not just sore randomly and stuff like that. Like all of us are getting older here. Like it's crazy to think about. I can't take it, but you have to be taking care of yourself because you will feel it otherwise.
Cray Speaks Media says, my God, are y'all looking in my window? This hits home. And I think this is part of it is we all feel this way, but there's this culture of like, don't talk about it. Right. There's this culture of like, no, we're just going to like work through it, which let me point out is super capitalistic, that you just work to produce at your own expense. But it's also kind of patriarchal, right? Like this is the way patriarchy and sexism tells us to like work hard, and the suffering is part of that. And so I think and I know Stowe and I talk about this, is like talking about it.
Right. Then
hopefully gives other people permission to talk about it. And so imagine what it would look like if someone sent you an email and you were like, you had an away message, and your away message said, I'm taking 3 self-care days. I hope you take some too this year. I will happily reconnect with you, right? Versus like, I'm taking some time off. If you need me, text me, like constantly. Yeah. It's exhausting, right? And maybe it's not physical, which let me say, I think is the other thing for those of us who do creative work. Sometimes people think that, well, it's not physical, like it's creative, it's fun. Like, why are you so tired? But the emotional output that we put into creating, into being vulnerable, into showing up for one another, into holding space, it's exhausting, right? We might not be out here like chopping wood or like, right. I don't know, whatever. And so all that work is equally valuable. Imp says, I can confirm I've been recontextualizing rest as, I'm going to share this.
Yeah.
I've been recontextualizing rest as this is necessary so that I can work. Labor and leisure are 2 sides of the same coin, and one can't exist without the other. Exactly. Like you need to rest so that you can work. You need to take care of yourself so that you can give from your abundance to others. Right. And so like, let this be, I mean, you don't need my permission. You don't need Stowe's permission, but if you need to hear it from folks, take time off for yourself. And let me say, like, it doesn't have to be 4 days off or like a whole week of vacation. For me, one of the things that works is I take breaks throughout the day. Like, I really like that ability to work a little bit and then do something fun and then work a little bit. And then like, so think about how you can integrate some of these things into your days in a way that makes sense. As Cree Speaks Media says, rest needs to be scheduled, and it's a necessary time as a part of the process. Yeah, 100%. And then treat it the same way you would treat your rest time the same way you would treat like a studio session. You're not going to be late for your studio session. You're not going to be late for your meeting with your like publicist or your agent or whatever. Don't be late for your rest time. Like, value it as just the same. I know we went off a little bit on a tangent from fourth quarter stuff, but I think this is really important. And I find that every time we talk about it, it resonates with folks.
Great.
Folks, if you have any other questions, please, or thoughts, please feel free to share those in the comments. If you're watching, please remember to subscribe. Stowe and I have a newsletter workshop coming up next month that we would love to see you at. We're going to go over like how to get started on your newsletter, how to make sure you have like good lead magnets and generation, what goes into a newsletter so that people continue to want to open it. And then you'll leave the workshop with an actual like template that you can use. So if you're tired of relying on social media algorithms, newsletters are the way to go. So definitely tap into that. Any final thoughts still before we wrap up today?
Yeah, what the hell's going on with my hair? Yeah, super excited for the workshop. We put in a lot of time for it. Going back to Cray Speaks Media's comment here, Team No Sleep. I ain't even gonna front. You can find tweets of me saying this. I used to be on that team. I goddamn left. I left. I'm a free agent. Team Sleep. I'm sleeping now. Because you can't. It's impossible to be 100% if you're not also resting. It's impossible. And when you slow down and you kind of take stock of how you feel throughout the day and just how you feel like when you aren't resting versus when you are, it's honestly night and day. So make sure you take that time.
Brenda says, in today's society, everyone stresses the grind mentality, but never the importance of resting. Love everything y'all said. Yeah. And again, that's like capitalism trying to get you to grind, produce as much as you can, and then society throws you away. And so resting keeps you good for the long run. Just to remind folks, like definitely take time to rest, take time to evaluate how the year has been for you or the last 6 months or whatever you want to look at. Celebrate your successes. Like, all the good shit that you've done, like celebrate that shit, tweet about it, make a post about it, take yourself to dinner or like socially distancely take your whatever, right? Like celebrate,
reward yourself, damn it. You deserve yourself.
It. Yeah, celebrate it. And then make sure that you're connecting with the people that have been part of your network this year, or that you want to build relationships with, because this industry especially is nothing without your relationships. And so really genuinely connecting and checking on people and supporting people and amplifying their work is always going to be clutch. So plan ahead, but also kind of take a look back. Thank y'all for hanging out with us today. Stowe and I do these every first and third Tuesday of the month. So actually, this is a bonus episode. So we're doing one next week.
Bonus episode. You guys lucky.
We appreciate y'all for checking in with us. As I said, please subscribe. If you have questions that we didn't get to today, drop those in the comments. We'll come back and definitely answer everything. And we'll see y'all next time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Next week is about press releases. Join us.
Yes, press releases.
Peace, guys.